I like to talk is it's called The Streets Are Talking. You know what I mean? So The Streets Are Talking, which this kind of happened, I want to say last week. So this is the video. This is The Streets Are Talking about Jim Jones versus Nas. I don't understand why on two different eras, but this is
I'm
kind of
22.
what started
Every
it all.
Nas
So
song
right here.
that my man's MJ played, we said we heard that from what, Doug?
2K.
2K. Those songs are in the video game.
Okay.
I have never in my life said at a party, yo, throwing that Nas right now. If you did top 3 influential people regarding dressing,
But
swag, Jim Jones is top 3.
But Nas influenced Jim Jones.
Cap, Chrome Hearts and the BB Simons belts and all that. Jim Jones is like top 3.
So where you put Max B?
Nobody was wearing Ed Hardy. Nobody was wearing True Religion. Nobody was wearing Chrome Hearts. All that was white biker stuff. He brought that into the culture.
And how old are you, real quick?
23.
23.
So Nas first dropped 94, right? So that's a different time period where this is not really even checking for numbers yet. He came in at a period where he's checking for the skill of the game. You're comparing two different eras, and I feel like it's a little bit disingenuous.
It's the difference between being in the game and being relevant.
But
Jim Jones is more relevant than Nas.
Jim Jones and Nas are in the same era. Jim Jones is 48 years old. Nas is 51 years old. Jim Jones just wasn't a rapper and didn't know how to rap when Nas was rapping. No matter what Jim Jones has improved to, it's still not Nas.
But
Like,
you
can
know
put a
it's
V12
funny.
in a Honda, it's
You
not
know
a
it-
Lamborghini.
But you know it's funny. The last Nas album is not better than the last Jim Jones album. It's not better than the last 3 Jim Jones.
By what
albums.
metric,
By what,
though?
yeah,
By
that's-
bars, by everything. El Capo,
It's better
the
than
deluxe is better than King's Disease.
So yeah, so that's what's kind of started it all when it comes to this whole Jim Jones and Nas debate. I love both of them, man. I completely different, but to me they're completely different eras. I respect Nas heavily, but I'm a '90s head, and most of these younger kids today don't even know who's what he's done for the culture. So it's the same way how some of these people feel about Jay-Z. Like some people label Jay-Z as used to be rapper that is Beyonce's husband, if you get what I'm saying. So, but with that, Jim Jones jumped on Jada and Fat Joe's podcast, which that's funny. So we'll see what he says, man. Let's check this out.
Instagram where a young kid was comparing you to Nas and saying that you got
Yeah, that's my young boy.
big hits.
He's wild.
Yo, he looked to you. He learned how to wear the BB Simon belt from you. He got his swag. Like, how crazy is that? Because in my era, you know what I'm saying, Nas is like a god.
In my
right?
era, in my era too. I mean,
So to
well,
be compared-
Yeah, but let me
That young kid out.
He was young, and we loved that he loved Jim Jones. I want you to break it down.
Let's break this down. I admired Nas, but remember Nas' first record, The Barbecue, came out when I was in 11th grade. So Nas was my idol when I was young. Like you did, came to dressing, the wordplay, the music, everything. I was a superior Nas fan. Period. I'd never take that away from him. But then as I got in the game, you got to realize that your rivals would be idols, and not to take anything away from that. I developed my own style and my own lane that these kids start to gravitate towards the same way I gravitated towards Nas when I was younger and things like that. It's a whole different generation. We're talking about 94, 93. I was in 11th grade. Nigga, it's 2025. This is a...
So yeah, I'm not too tripping on that. That's something that I get. I totally understand. They're two different eras, but they're the same age. I don't know how to explain that, but yeah, they're two different eras in the same age. You know what I mean? So it's the kid really kicked that off kind of crazy. Jim has some wild stuff to say about record sales, and we all know that Nas outsold Jim Jones for years. Man, that's not what we're talking about here. Hip hop heads knows what it is. Jim Jones had solid runs at times, no question, and Nas is still one of my top 10 rappers of all time. Not saying that Jim Jones, and I am not gonna lie, Al Capo is probably better than the last 6 Nas's albums in my eyes. So I'm not tripping on Nas. He's just on to a different type of things in his career. It's not really a big idea, or big deal. But let's get this right. On that clip, Jim Jones was right. Nas was not even messing with the culture when Jim Jones jumped in the game with balling and just up until now, rather than Jim Jones is right. Nas ain't relevant when it comes to the game. Let's just be real. He's not. But Jim is. Like, Jim is just that guy, man. He wants to say he knows the game. He knows the game, and then he knows the culture and which way it's moving. So he just keeps it going. And I feel like a little bit of this stuff he's going on podcasts and all the other stuff, he's making himself relevant. He should drop an album soon, to be honest with you. He probably got someone in the tuck somewhere. That right there shows you that he is still moving and shaking. I don't really care. I think he just got a deal bringing a casino to New York or something like that. Nas is not really about that life right now. He's just trying to live life and do his thing. You know what I mean? But also, I want to get into this whole thing with Nightcap and Jim Jones and Uncle Shay Shay on that crazy shit. So I don't know. To me, this kind of pissed me off because I love Shannon Sharpe, but he came out Jim Jones a little crazy.
Right, you are capping. You are capping. That's what you're doing.
First of all, bro,
you are
I'm about to be
capping. I'm a bigger Nas fan than you are. You are capping.
First of all, I'm 57. I don't be
now.
singing no rap. I don't be singing no rap.
You see what I'm saying, Ocho? He don't even know about rap. He just doing this for the views to get Jim Jones on there to get him hot. I understand, but you don't
Get
know
him
no
hot.
Nas. You don't know Nas.
You better check the podcast page. Now you better talk.
Sing 16.
Hey,
sing
this the biggest podcast you ever been on.
Name one Nas record.
This the biggest podcast you ever been on. You know podcast you been on better than this one.
Hold on. We off topic. Hold on.
This is what I do. You see you in your feelings? You see in your feelings?
When you get big, you get invited to Club Shay Shay.
This is what I do.
Nas get invited to Club Shay Shay. Jada get invited to Club Shay Shay. You not on that level yet, bro.
It's for little young white girls. Chill out. Chill out. Don't play with me, bro. Chill out.
Off topic.
You're dealing with the wrong one, bro.
Right here, bro.
So yeah, man, come on, Shannon, dog. You didn't have to do Jim like that, man. Jim is a stand-up dude, man. I know he was popping that shit, but let's just get that out the way. Jim is currently moving irrelevant than Nas, whether people want to admit it or not. And honestly, I doubt that Nas even cared, like I stated before. But Shannon came out Jim and felt a little extra. You didn't have to go there. Shay Shay, come on, dog. You know, you gotta respect him, man. I know he's talking shit, but you know, he's kind of in his feelings over the whole relevancy, I guess, thing. But personally, I roll with both Jim and Nas. It depends on the vibe I'm in. I've never saw them as being a same tier of lyrically or legacy wise. That's just me. Anyways, like I said, the comparison is a wild take for most people, and that's totally understandable why Jim said what he said. A lot of younger cats do fuck with Jim Jones because of I'm seeing how he dresses, and he's just that swagged out generation. So that's just kind of what that is. Nas really listened to Nas like that. So most of the generation hasn't really listened to Nas like that. Like I said, and we're just being honest, Jim's El Chapo album was, like I stated previously, is better than the Nas's last 6 projects to me, but that's just me. That's what the streets are talking about. Like I said, the streets are going to have different opinions. Just let me know in the comments and all that good stuff. But honestly, Jim Jones has his lane. Nas has his lane. They're on 2 totally different lanes. Just like Jim Jones said, he looked up to Nas like we all did, especially if you're the 90s, baby. We all looked up to him. We all listened to it. But honestly, like I said, Jim Jones' El Chapo album was probably one of his best albums. I believe it actually is the best album he had, and it's better than the last Nas albums to me. That's just what it is. So it is what it is.